You know, there's this one mental switch you can flip that can completely change how you see your own success and failure, especially in this crazy modern world. It's a really simple rule, but trust me, it is an absolute game changer. Here it is. Stop comparing yourself to who someone else is today and start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday.
I mean, think about it. It starts so early, right? From the moment we're kids, we're measured, we're ranked. We learn to look at the person next to us to figure out where we're supposed to stand. And look, as kids, that kind of makes sense. We don't have our own standards yet, so we have to look outward to get our bearings. But what happens when that childhood habit follows us into our adult lives? Well, that's when the trouble starts.
And that quote just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? This is the core problem. In a world where you're connected to literally billions of people through the internet, the game of comparing yourself to others is a game you are mathematically guaranteed to lose. Always. There will always be someone better.
So this brings us to what we can call the comparison trap. The old ways of measuring success, the ones our grandparents might have used, they're broken. They just don't apply anymore. We're all playing this new, massive global game, and we're caught in a trap that honestly didn't even exist for most of human history.
Just think about it for a second. A few generations ago, if you lived in a small town, you could genuinely be the best mechanic around, or the best teacher, or the star basketball player. You can have that real confidence that comes from being a big fish in a small pond. But today, you might be a pretty darn good guitar player, but a quick YouTube search shows you 1,000 people who can play circles around you. The hierarchy of accomplishment has become, as the source material puts it, dizzyingly vertical. And here's the scary part. This constant fire hose of the best in the world gives a powerful new weapon to a very old enemy, that nagging voice in your head, your internal critic. It takes this endless supply of people who seem better than you and uses it as ammunition in this relentless attack on your own self-worth.
And it usually starts with your work, right? You're scrolling through social media, you see people with these seemingly perfect, world-changing jobs, and that little critic whispers in your ear, "See, that's what you should be doing. What you do is so boring, it's pointless."
And it doesn't stop there. Then it moves on to your identity. It starts to scrutinize your clothes, the music you like, how you decorated your home, and it holds all of it up against some impossible, curated ideal you saw online. And of course, it always finds you wanting.
And finally, it gets personal. It gets visceral. It uses the simplest, most brutal comparisons to make you feel completely inadequate. It's a voice that knows you, and it knows exactly where to hit you so that it hurts the most.
But listen, here's how you disarm that critic. You have to expose its twisted logic. It's not a fair judge, it's a con artist. And it rigs the game against you every time. First, it picks one single narrow thing, like fame or money, and pretends that's the only thing in the whole world that matters. Then it compares you to someone at the absolute pinnacle of that thing. And finally, it uses that enormous, impossible gap to prove that you're a failure and that life is unfair. It's a strategy that is specifically designed to make you give up before you even start.
So, what's the answer? You can't win a rigged game, so you have to stop playing it. The only winning move here is to completely change the rules of the game. In this, right here, this is the fundamental choice we all face every single day. We can keep running on that treadmill, comparing ourselves to others, a totally demoralizing game that we are guaranteed to lose, one that forces our attention onto everything we don't have. Or we can choose a different game, a winnable one, a game where the only person you're competing against is the person you were yesterday. And in that game, every single tiny step forward is a victory. You see, the key insight here is that life isn't one big competition, like the Olympics, where there's only one gold medal for success. No, you're not playing just one game. You're playing many unique games all at once. Your career is a game, your friendships are a game, so are your health and your hobbies. And trying to win all of them at the same time is impossible. Sometimes just improving, just growing, is the most important way to win.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you make this your new reality, like starting today? Well, here's a simple, practical guide to get you started.
First, you got to take an honest look around, kind of like a home inspector checking out your own psychological house for things that might be a little broken. Next, and this is so important, you negotiate with yourself. You can't bully yourself into changing. It just doesn't work. You have to bargain. Then, you aim small, like really small. Forget about huge goals for a minute and just ask yourself, what's one tiny thing I could do, that I would do, to make things just a little bit better? And finally, when you do that one thing, you absolutely have to reward yourself. Acknowledge the win, no matter how small it seems. And this is what that negotiation can actually sound like. See how it's not about force? It's playful, it's charming. You're talking to yourself without sarcasm or being mean, and you're genuinely asking for help. You're treating yourself like a person you're trying to win over, not like a slave you're ordering around.
And this right here is where the magic happens. Every single day that you make one tiny little improvement, your baseline of comparison, who you were yesterday, gets just a little bit higher. At first, it feels like nothing, totally insignificant. But it's like compound interest for your life. And the source material is very clear on this. You do this consistently for a few years, and your life will be almost unrecognizable.
Okay, now for the final and honestly, the most profound piece of this entire puzzle. Changing your aim from beating others to beating yesterday, it doesn't just change how you feel, it literally changes the world that you perceive around you.
So there's this famous experiment by a cognitive psychologist named Daniel Simons. He showed people a video of two teams passing basketballs, one team in white shirts, one in black. And he gave them a really simple task. Just count the number of passes made by the team in white. Simple enough, right? Most people got it right, 15 passes, and they felt pretty good about it.
But then, Simons asked a very strange question, a question that made absolutely no sense to most of the people who watched the video. He asked, "But did you see the gorilla?" What gorilla? And here's the stunning result. Fully half, 50% of the people watching that video were so focused on their task of counting the passes that they completely failed to see a person in a full gorilla suit walk into the middle of the game, beat their chest, and then walk off. They were completely blind to it.
The crucial takeaway from this is absolutely mind-blowing. Your eyes are not just passive cameras recording the world. Your brain actively filters reality based on what your goal is. You are functionally blind to almost everything that isn't relevant to what you're aiming at. Let me say that again. What you aim at determines what you see.
And this is what brings it all home. If your aim, your goal, is to beat other people, your brain will literally filter the world to show you rivals, threats, and constant evidence of your own shortcomings. You will actually see a world that is full of reasons to be unhappy. But if you change your aim to simply beating who you were yesterday, your brain starts to highlight totally different things. It'll show you opportunities for growth, little victories you can celebrate, and tangible proof of your own progress. You literally start to see a different, better world.
Look, this is so much more than just a mindset shift. This is about reclaiming your own perception of reality. It's about consciously directing your most precious resource, your attention, toward a world that empowers you, not one that constantly defeats you. So, the only real question left to ask is, where will you aim tomorrow?